with both eyes? No. So you might have to put your hand, use your hand for the other thing. So what I'd like to do is wink with your eye that you can wink with, and look at your finger. Yeah. And then for those of you who can wink with your other eye, swap, and then you'll see as you swap between your eyes that your finger moves, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. When you open both your eyes, you see one finger, which is good because you have got one finger. Yeah. But the reality is, this is the thing. The truth is that image you see of your finger with two eyes is not real. It's a composite your brain has made up out of the two images that's coming out of two eyes. Didn't tell you though, did it? It quietly got on with it without letting you know. And there's loads of things that our brain does without letting us know about it. And I want to run through a little bit more about the brain, because it's going to put it in context for you, I hope. So, any idea how many cells there are in an average human brain?
4 million.
It's a bit more than that. 10 billion. It's more than that.
7 billion.
60. We're getting quite close. Yes. It's actually 86 billion cells. Now, of course, it's a phenomenal number. 86 billion cells are in your head, depending on what you do at the weekends and how many you've killed. But roughly 86 billion cells. And each of those cells can connect to other cells, yeah, through things they're called dendrites, they're connectors. Each cell can connect to, have a guess how many other cells it can connect to?
150 billion.
So each cell can connect to 150 billion, when there's only 86 billion. I'll give it to you. You've aimed high.
86 times 86.
No, it can't connect to every single cell.
Oh, -1.
No. It cannot. You've gone way too high. Each cell can connect to up to another 100,000 cells.
Fair enough.
So, and each time cells connect, they connect every time you have a thought, an idea, a memory, an emotion, all done through the electrical connection of cells. So, if you think about how much you know, and how much you could know if you filled up all of that lot, we haven't got anywhere near our capacity. We have phenomenal brain capacity. Let's look at some more information. It's the most complex organism in the known universe. Yeah? And it's, of course, it's very difficult to study while people are alive, and to really study it, you need dead people, which is not ideal for the subject. So, neuroscience, they put people in these scanners. You've ever had, anyone had an MRI? Yeah, that's what they use to work out how things are like, different areas light up when you do different things. It's fascinating, but no time to go into it this morning. The key attribute of our human brain is its plasticity, which is the neuroplasticity term. It's its ability to make connections. You never lose it. However, we have enough anecdotal evidence to recognise that it gets harder the older you get. I know you don't believe that now because you're young. You wait. It's no fun game. The weight of any idea how much your human brain weighs?
7 kilos.
It's
No,
8
too much.
kilograms, isn't it?
I like to think of it in terms of relationship to our total body weight. So it weighs between 2 to 3% of our total body weight. Yet it uses around 25% of all the energy we produce. So some people have called it a greedy organ. It's certainly a very demanding organ. And as a consequence of that, energy management is critical. And I'm sure you know that, I'm sure you've had the experience where you have to concentrate hard on something. It's tiring, isn't it? Yeah? And so we've worked out lots of different ways of saving energy. And rather than explain this to you, what I'd like to do is to do a little exercise. Don't have to move around your chairs, it's very easy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Okay? And what I'd like you to do is to do 2 things at the same time, boys. Good luck. The first thing is to answer the question out loud as quickly as you can. Okay? The 2 questions. The second thing I want you to do is to notice what happens in your brain or in your mind. Yeah? Just notice the difference between the 2, if there is a difference, or maybe it'll be the same. Okay. One very important point I want to make: there are no trick questions, even though you will think one of the questions is a trick question. It's not a trick question. Okay. You ready? That wasn't one of the questions. Okay. Question 1. What is 2 times 2?
4.
See, you thought it was a trick question, didn't you? You thought it was so easy. Correct. And what is 17 times 24?
No, I was just
408.
Thank you.
Oh my god!
Well, we'd have been here all night, so thank you for that. So, here's the thing. What was the difference? This is the...
One I knew and one I didn't know.
Okay, yeah.
So my brain exited.
Same.
Like you said it, and I thought, oh, I don't know that.
Yeah.
In my head, and then I just stopped. My brain stopped. I couldn't even try and work it out. Same.
That's my
Can I just quote, to repeat back? I couldn't even work it out.
Because I didn't try.
And if I'd have said, here's $5 grand for
Then
the
I would
first
have done
person.
it, yeah.
So you could have done it.
Maybe it's like most, I don't know.
Yeah, you were, yeah. What happened was, internally, and I'm sure this is similar for many of you, that sounds familiar, roughly the same, yeah, is your brain, without telling you, did a quick cost-benefit analysis. What's the cost? Well, I've got to think about it hard. What's the benefit? Why should I?
Yeah.
Not meant to swear. Sorry. So you didn't bother, yeah? And no one bothered putting the effort in. But really, what this is an example of the way that our brain works. And the brain the energy management system. This stuff I want to share with you now. It's not the truth. Yeah, you've heard that we've got a right brain and a left brain. Yeah. So what's going to happen is, as I explain this, you're going to try and make sense of it with your current knowledge of how your brain works. And I don't know what your current knowledge about the brain is at all, but here's a tip: don't try. Learn something new. Don't try and make it make sense of something else. So, anyone heard of a guy called Daniel Kahneman? And a book he wrote, for which he won the Nobel Prize. Well, the work in the book he won a Nobel Prize for, so it's quite good. Called Thinking Fast and Slow. Anyone heard of it? It's amazing. You've heard of it, you haven't read it.
It's in my Audible downloaded.
Okay.
I must. It's up.
Yeah, okay. It's in the 408 section. Yeah. So he popularised this theory. He didn't come up with it, he popularised it. That our brain has got these 2 systems, yeah, that work concurrently. And he said that the system 1 is fast, there's very little energy usage, and it's always on. Yeah, it's vigilant for those needs that we talked about, for Maslow's needs. Yeah, your physiological needs, your safety needs, your esteem needs, and your love and belonging needs. Yeah, it's always there. And there's loads of things in your system 1, things that you just know. Yeah, like what's capital of France?
Paris.
Yeah, what's your mother's maiden name? What's your PIN number? But you know, there's hundreds, thousands of things that you just know that require no thought whatsoever. And yet, he called this system 2, he called it slower. Sexy names, aren't they? System 1 and system 2. Anyway, it's slower, there's higher energy usage, and it's like it's on standby. Yeah? It's not really in standby, but it's like that. You have to sort of fire it up if you can be. I think the technical term is asked. And so it's not always there, and we showed it, didn't we? When we answered the 2 questions 2 times, we just know it. But the harder one for us, mental arithmetic is not something in your system too. By the way, it can be. If you train it and practice it, do it, it would be in there. It's not beyond us. It's just something that you don't do all the time. Yeah? Same as all the shortcuts you know on your computers now. You don't even think about them, do you? Just go straight into them. But there was a time in your life when you didn't know what they were and you had to think of them. That's when they were in System 2, they've moved over to System 1. So let's take a little more look at the 2 systems. So the attributes of System 1 is that it loves making assumptions all the time. We are making assumptions by the dozen every second. Yeah. You know the biggest problem with assumptions, as far as I can see, is that most of them are right. So, for example, here, how did you come into work today? Should anyone come in a different way other than tube? Train. Okay. Can't train. Okay, great. And who checked the TfL website to check how things were? Very good, very good. Yeah. So you didn't. Everyone else, we just assumed it ran on time. Yeah. Because it does most of the time. Yeah. Yeah.
It kind of does.
Yeah. But I'm not arguing with the rightness of it. I'm just showing you where you assume you don't even recognise we assume. Yeah. So whereas when somebody said, "I'll see you on Tuesday for the talk that he's going to do," when I'll just check you mean Wednesday. Excellent work. Yeah. So we make assumptions all the time, and because they're right most of it, you know when you have when you think, "Oh, I bet that happens," and it does. Feels great that that was right. What actually is happening is your brain is actually giving you a little dopamine hit. Yeah, and that's the brain's reward system. So if you do something, you then get rewarded for it, but you like to do it more or less in future. More. That's why we do more and more and more of something. And the problem is, most of it is unconscious. And we don't know when we do it. And when it works, it's fine. But what's the impact on you if someone makes a negative, inaccurate assumption about you? Anger, yeah. What would disappointment, yeah. Furious. Okay. Watch out. Yeah. It definitely damages the relationship. Yeah. And that's the problem. But we're unconscious most of the time. We don't even know we're doing it. We also have expectations. Anyone go into meetings with clients and you find they've got a whole lot of expectations? You go back to another meeting with them, the expectations have changed, and nobody bothered telling you about it. Yeah, we all do it all the time. Yeah, so function system 1 saves us a huge amount of energy. Yeah, as does having unconscious biases. We have loads and loads of unconscious biases. Of course, we don't know about them. The most famous unconscious biases are things like the placebo effect. Yeah, you know about that? We're taking a pill that has no medicinal benefits, can persuade people that they can feel better. We have no idea, no one knows how it works. All the brilliant minds in the world, no one knows how the placebo effect works. There's also, I'll tell you, I saw happening this morning, happens every time I do a workshop, this thing called the, what's the word? Yeah, I've got it written down. I'm wasting my time thinking about it when I've got it here. Availability bias, that was the word. I started with P and I go, it doesn't start with P. The availability bias means that we bias people that are close to us, that's there. And when I see it, when I say get into pairs, and people go, you coming? Always, yeah. You heard of the gambler's fallacy? Brilliant. This is that once, if they're on a run, they think the run's going to change. Yeah. So if you're in a casino and you're black or red, red, all black must come up. It's still random. Yeah? But we come up with all this stuff because it saves us energy.